At this time, Dr. Ross, I'll turn it over to you for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, our community. It's awesome to recognize our students, the teachers, and the staff that are associated with the program, but the foundation, we appreciate the work that they do tirelessly to support student grants, teacher grants, and the snack pack program. They also serve and work with our social workers as they address needs within our district. So we really thank our foundation and the work they did to get the sponsors in for these projects. If you ever see these projects, and it's just really cool, the talented students that we have solving today's problems. As always, we're a system guided by three critical questions. Why do we do this work? How do we accomplish that why? And what are our outcomes? And tomorrow we have a opportunity to really engage our students, engage our parents within our district. And that's with our digital lunch and learn. We have a new app, District 5 app. You can download it. It's in Android or on your iPhone, on Apple. So we encourage you. You can see how to download our new app. But register for our virtual lunch and learn. That's tomorrow, Tuesday, March 24th, from 12 to 1. We want to get students involved in all of the things that we have in School District 5. I don't think anyone really understands all the opportunities to see what our students engaged in, the classes that we have. We have a lot of opportunities. And so we'll have representatives from the high schools to talk about clubs, athletics, and special programs. So if you want your child involved, School District 5 has tons to offer, and we ask that you can register. Our vision is that we love and grow our students. Our mission is that we're focused on academic, social, emotional growth and development, and then our outcomes are guided by our strategic plan. These are 24 strategies that go to 4 performance goals so that one day every student feels loved in our school and has demonstrated academic growth in our schools. This is why we do the work, and we measure our performance. We look at our data. At each board meeting, I will show you the progress that we're making on some of these key factors. In graduation rate, our strategic plan has a goal of 9 out of 10 of our students graduating within 4 years. We're getting ever so close to that goal. And thanks to our teachers and staff, our high schools. I know Ms. Waters is here every week working with those high schoolers in those schools to make sure that we are finding the names behind the numbers and the stories behind the names so that the students can be successful. We're going to talk a lot about formative assessments. As you're aware, the South Carolina Education Accountability Act requires that we do 3 of these formative assessments each year. Every year we must do 3 of these formative assessments by law. And we currently use measures of academic progress. And I show these at every meeting because I don't want us to forget the students in the red are not on grade level. This can't get lost. It can't be just another slide that we do. It must stay forefront in the work that we do. There's going to be, as we walk into budget season, this should be the leading driver of why we make our decisions to ensure that our students are successful, whether that's staffing or programs, software. We're addressing these students in the red and challenging those students in the blue. And so as we look at fall to winter, we can see the progress that's made, but we still have work to do. And we can't be satisfied until we're seeing growth in all our students. While we have growth in red, we are not satisfied until we can get all of those bars to blue. So we keep this forefront in our work. We're making sure that as we work on our achievement, our academic achievement is the leading indicator of why we do the work that we do. And so when we see that there are certain areas where we can make improvements, District 5 and the majority of its measurements in the Accountability Act are onward and upward. And to keep this trend going, to keep all of those arrows going up in green, we need to continue to look at ways strengthen our strategic planning, strengthen our resources so that we can support our students in growth. And so that's why our district took a really big step that we thank you for in investing in Tier 2. This was just another opportunity to invest in our students. When you look at week 1 and to see where we are now at week 2, I'm just very proud of the work. We were able to get more teachers involved as of last week to see the number of teachers that are involved, the number of counseling sessions that have increased. This is great work, and we thank the board for granting us this time and this resource to invest in students. Ms. McCaskill and I were discussing some good news we got, and who would tell that story? And I said, Ms. McCaskill would be best to really share it. But there's amazing growth that's happening because of the Tier 2 intervention. And so that's how we're turning I can't to I can. And when you hear just one of these stories of a child who went from I can't do this to I can do this, you can see the amazing growth and why we do this. So we will forever show at every meeting those red bars and those blue bars, so we never forget the why that brings us to this table. Last, before I turn over the presentation, I do want to make the community aware of an event that we're having regarding Irmo High School. The bond referendum brought 3 new projects to Irmo High School's campus. Phase 2A, which is the new cafeteria student center. Phase 2B, which is the small business incubator. And Phase 2C, and that is the partial demolition of the east wing at Irmo High School. But before we engage in that, we want the community's input on that. This is a rendering of what that area would look like. You see the outline of the part of Irmo High School that would be part of that Phase 2C that would come down on that building. That would bring the parking out to replace that area and create a new plaza for Irmo High School. And so here is a rendering of what that looks like. You can see this from the perspective of St. Andrews with the small business incubator as those putouts, as well as the entry plaza for Irmo High. And so we want to hear from the community. We have a community input meeting that will be Thursday, March 26th from 3 to 6. We want to hear your thoughts about the small business incubator, the entry plaza that will be in the Center for the Arts on Thursday, March 26th from 3 to 6. Before we move on to the academic report, are any questions about this part of the presentation?
Ms. Huddle?
Dr. Ross, if you go back to the diagram that shows that one, the east wing to remain, was that always going to remain?
We had talked about options of demoing the entire building, but looking at an opportunity to do a freshman academy there, we selected that we would keep half of the remaining building. Well, not half of it. We'll keep that portion of the remaining building. That gives the administration some opportunities to do maybe a freshman academy, and if there's ever future growth, we would have that classroom space on that wing.
And as a follow-up, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but the east wing was originally a 1-story school, and at some point there was a 2nd story added onto it. Is the part that will remain constructed the same way, or is it different?
Mr. Knox?
So we're currently looking at making the separation at a like an expansion joint, or where let's say a place where we can actually separate the building. So the existing part will still be it'll still be intact. We're just going to drop a portion of the wing I think you're asking, correct me if I'm wrong, there's like a little mechanical space between the two different floors?
Yeah, I'm just asking, is the part that you're wanting to keep, was it constructed the same way as the part that we're gonna demolish?
I believe so.
Okay. I mean, I'm just gonna share, when we voted for the ad way back, I didn't think that was gonna happen, and one of the reasons that I wanted the new East Wing is the old one, there's issues, you know? So I would just ask that we really like get an engineer in there and look at it and stuff, because there were cracks in the walls and there were just a lot of issues with that. And I just want to make sure we don't, I understand the need for the space, but I just want to make sure we're not keeping something that is not worth maintaining in the long run.
So, and we're currently going through our due diligence with that.
To that point, though, it was very interesting construction of that wing. It was one story, and then another story was just placed on top of it. And so there is a little gap there where you can be on the roof of one story and see the floor of the second story there. But we know that we want to be true to the Irmo community and to the alumni. And so we do not want to go through any demolition without input from the community. And want to talk about opportunities for people to tour it one last time, to purchase a brick, and to really see what's happening to their alma mater. So again, we appreciate the opportunity to showcase this input meeting. At this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Tina McCaskill for the academics report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Ross, Board. I would like to introduce to you Ms. Walters, who is our secondary director. Ms. Walters works tirelessly with your grad rate that you see every time and lots of other things, but she's going to highlight a special program for you tonight with some students. So, Ms. Walters.
Thank you, Ms. McCaskill. Good evening, Dr. Ross, Madam Chair, and members of our board. We have a number of amazing students and great instruction going on in District 5 and secondary education. But tonight, I'd like to take a moment to spotlight the Academic Leadership Academy at Chapin High School. Over the past few years, I've had the opportunity to attend the research topic reveals and later see many of those students again at the District Science Fair, where their projects come to life in impressive and meaningful ways. What stands out most to me is just not the quality of the work, but the growth, the confidence, the depth of thinking these students demonstrate from start to finish. Their research reflects curiosity, discipline, and a genuine commitment to learning, guided by teachers who clearly inspire and challenge them to do their very best. Tonight, you'll have the opportunity to hear from them about their work and their experiences. It is my pleasure to introduce students from the ALA program, Junior Kate Ham and Senior Sarah Hogan. Here supporting them are their program deans, Mrs. Lisa Maylith and Dr. Dawn Weathersby, and Principal Ed Davis.
Good evening, Dr. Ross, members of the board, everyone in the audience. My name is Kate Ham,
And my name is Sarah Hogan.
and we are honored to be here tonight to represent our other 200 colleagues and to talk about what ALA is.
So ALA's mission statement, above all, the Academic Leadership Academy has a faculty that is dedicated to educating academically gifted students who are invested in their learning in order to prepare them for a lifetime of situational leadership. So ALA is designed to create leaders. All ALA students are required to complete a CCL portfolio, or Center for Creative Leadership portfolio, and overall student engagement is heavily encouraged in ALA, and ALA Booster Club representation is something that a lot of our students participate in. Additionally, situational leadership is something that is extremely impactful in ALA, so beyond Chapin High School, in your sports, at home, in work. So beyond just CHS, how are we preparing our students to go and be leaders there? So ALA faculty is something that is very impactful in my experience in ALA. There is a heightened teacher-student interaction and a close-knit community in the ALA community. So throughout the 4 years, we have the same homeroom teacher with the same group of 20 kids. So getting really close with those people as you're going through school, academics, and life together is something that's really important and special in ALA. So our teachers are all CCL certified, many are AP certified. They are all highly educated individuals that are overall dedicated to the learning and nurturing of their students. So like I said earlier, the Center for Creative Leadership, or CCL, is a portfolio that each student who graduates in ALA is required to complete. So in our 7 ALA required courses, the CCL lessons are integrated into each of those. So this is just a highlight of the leadership aspect of the Academic Leadership Academy, so something that's very important to the program as a whole. And all of our ALA teachers are CCL certified. So community service is another thing that puts our students above and beyond. And each student is required to do a total of 30 hours per year, grades 9 through 11, so for a total of 90 service hours. And many ALA students, including myself, have gone beyond this just 90 hours of service. And each week our teachers and ALA faculty members all post different leadership opportunities for us to complete. So something that I've found that's extremely striking in the ALA community is we all identify needs that we see in our community, and we go out and seek to do things to change those or alter them or make them better.
Okay, so AP Capstone consists of the completion of AP Seminar, AP Research, and then 4 other AP classes. In ALA, we are the only program in the district that requires the completion of AP Capstone. I will also say that AP Seminar and AP Research are incredibly impactful classes. In both, you create your own new knowledge, you synthesize information, and you're going out finding your passion and exploring that. Additionally, seminar and research both look really good on college applications and can help show a college what your interest is and that you're pursuing it. So for AP Research, all of our AP Research students compete in 2 science fairs. So some of these science fairs include Ski Jazz, or the South Carolina Junior Association for Sciences. Then we have Region 2. Region 2 offers opportunities for placement at state levels and even national levels. And I know that recently we went to the district science fair. I was there, and I think more than 10 of my classmates placed. It's really important to show initiative and to show that the work you're doing is important, impactful, and can place at state and national levels. So AP Seminar and AP Research, as I said, do show that students have a passion and that they're exploring that passion. So for me, I'm interested in the legal system and politics. So in AP Seminar and AP Research, I've honed in on those and done my project from a legal and political focus. So in AP Seminar, I first did a project on how 9/11 impacted American politics. Then I studied how AI could be used in the courtroom. And now, currently, for my AP Research project, I'm exploring legislator and citizen perceptions of democracy and comparing those. So this just goes to show that once you identify a passion and you have something you want to explore, these classes give you a very significant opportunity to demonstrate that. So, like I said, developing a narrative does allow you to stand out to colleges because an interest and a niche is incredibly impactful. I know that I have been able to develop my narrative because of AP Seminar and AP Research. Our lovely teachers, Dr. Taylor, Dr. Weathersby, and Ms. Maylaff all have helped me hone that and have helped me explore that more thoroughly. Another important aspect of ALA is the community. So you're going to be in these classes with the same students for all of high school. You're going to have the same teachers. We do a lot of community building exercises. We go on field trips. We go on college trips. And once a month we have one event. So like Halloween, Christmas. Halloween we had a costume party. Christmas we did fun activities and had hot cocoa. And it really just works to build a community. Additionally, being surrounded with academically minded students is really helpful to help you succeed because you are who you surround yourself with. Like I said, college preparation is obviously going to be important. I know that it gives you a lot of extracurricular opportunities. I'm in National Honor Society, ALA, mock trial. Sarah's in National Honor Society and dance. It's just very important. It can help you build that resume that's so necessary. And to close off, I think the best way I can summarize what ALA does and what seminar and research do is creating over consuming. I can probably explain this by an AP Lang. I write an essay, right? So I synthesize information and I put together an argument based on that. In AP Research, I make the sources a student would cite in those papers. That's really impactful to me, and creating new knowledge is really important. Additionally, by creating new things, you are becoming a leader and you are showing self-efficacy or independence. Thank you.
Great job.
If that doesn't put a smile on your face, nothing
That's
does,
awesome.
right?
That's awesome.
I think I need them to just go ahead and make the presentation for the rest of the evening. How about that? I think they could do that. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about formative assessments, but before we do that, I'm going to share the celebration from the Tier 2 tutoring that Dr. Ross sort of alluded to. He said, I'm not going to take the celebration from you. I tried to tell him he could, but anyway, 8th grade. This is from a middle school 8th grade group. I'm going to talk about the group of 8th graders that have been going to tutoring consistently first, then I'm going to tell you one specific success story. So the group of 8th graders that have been going to tutoring successfully, they started with a winter median percentile of 25. They just took their winter or their spring map, and that group has a 35 median percentile now. So they have grown 10 percentile points as a group, which is pretty amazing, to be quite honest. One of those students has, until December, had never been above the 10th percentile. December, they had the 26th percentile. Remember that we targeted 20th to 30th percentile. So they made it into the tutoring. I have goosebumps saying this. Just took his map test. He is at the 62nd percentile for spring. So that's a testament to initiative of the student, motivation, but our teachers and the staff and what they have done with this program. So what we can do for kids, truly, it's really up to us. It's up to us to make a decision what we can do for students. And as we make decisions, I think that's where we focus ourselves, is on our students. And so as we talk about formative assessment is just what it says. It's formative assessment. It's supposed to inform our instruction. It's supposed to tell us where we need to go next and what we've got, what have we learned, and what areas do we still need help in. It should be something that is correlated directly to our state standards, to our state test, so that we can ensure what we're doing along the way. It's like taking your temperature, right? So we take our temperature in the fall to see where we are. And then we take our temperature again in December to see where we are. And then we take it again in the spring to see where we are. And then you take the summative assessment 1st of May. So all along the way, the formative assessment is to help drive our instruction. You can't teach a textbook from the beginning to the end and just think that that's going to make sure the kids know and master everything. You've got to make sure that you're following that instruction along the way. And so as we were looking at formative assessments, the state gives us a mandate that we have to do it. It's part of the law. And then we have 5 options that we can choose from. And as we look at what we currently have, we get a list of skills that students know and what they need to know, but it's not standards-based. It's not specific to standards. There's a difference in the types of tests. So our current assessment, we take MAP, is a norm-referenced assessment. The main point of a norm-referenced assessment is to compare me to another student. So it's normed. So it's comparing how I do with other students. As we looked at other options, we had a committee, and I'll go ahead and go here. We had a committee, and it was comprised of lots of principals, assistant principals, coordinators from all levels, because this is K through 8, district office staff, to look at what formative assessment would work best for our students. Because we're hearing from teachers, we're hearing from schools that MAP's not really driving instruction. We're telling teachers, use your MAP data, but to use the MAP data is just not very user-friendly. We've had lots of professional development on it. It's very cumbersome. I've done it myself. It's just very cumbersome. So the committee made a proposal that we change and we look at a different formative assessment. The 5 vendors that are on the approved list from the state are listed here on this slide. And so the committee recommendation was iReady. Now, whenever we look at iReady, again, I just told you what a norm referenced assessment was. iReady is a criterion referenced assessment. The difference is criterion means it's based on a criteria. It's based on standards. So what you're assessing the student at is against standards. How do I do with standards? Do I know the standards or do I not know the standards? And your reports are going to be geared towards standards. And I'll show you some of those reports in just a few minutes. But as we were going through this process, I've talked to teachers, our principals are on there, we've talked to teachers. Our elementary students right now, kindergarten through 5th grade, are utilizing iReady as part of their math adoption. And for 1 year, they were given that diagnostic in the teacher toolbox for 1 year. We've seen lots of great information. Teachers are learning how to utilize that information, and it's making an impact on how they're forming their small groups for math. So as we look to move to that for ELA and for math, there are pieces and parts to it that are needed to really help complete the package. So you could give a test, and a teacher could take the information, and they could sit and they could develop their own lessons to go along with it. They could group the students themselves. They can do all of that. It's very time intensive. You've seen the desk with all the different levels that are in classrooms and everything. So if teachers have to create all of those lessons on their own, it's just too time intensive. So what iReady has is a separate piece to it that is aligned to their diagnostic that allows for what's called a teacher toolbox, which are lesson plans that directly correlate to the needs of small groups of students. So it's really for your small group instruction. They're teacher-led. So that's the adult-led. There's another part to it called My Path that is adaptive instruction. So that is the computer-based piece of the program. That recommendation from the company is 3 times 15 minutes each time for elementary, kindergarten through 5th grade. For 6 through 8, it's twice a week, 20 minutes each time. That is replacing computer programs that we currently have. So it's not in addition to, we're not adding to time. That is replacing things that we already have. The quote that we have right now, we would not need to ask for additional funding of what the Office of Academics receives, that we would not be asking for additional funding. Our Title II funds would help with the professional development piece of it, and we are reevaluating programs to be able to cut things that are not directly impacting student achievement to be able to really hone in on what this will do for students. So I want to take a few minutes, and we had teachers give input last week. Our principals had already known about the iReady. We had talked a lot about it. I asked principals last Tuesday to talk to teachers about it, to let them know that I was coming to the board tonight, asking for approval for the professional development piece of it, because that's part of policy, that anything over $25,000, the board needs to give approval for that. And so these are the grade levels that were surveyed, kindergarten through 8th grade, because that's who will be impacted with this. So there were over 500 responses. These were some of the things that they had to say. And what you'll see here is that 35 to 40% of the teachers were positive or excited about the program. 35 to 40% were neutral or cautiously optimistic, and 20 to 25% were concerned or frustrated. And the number one concern was a lack of training. That's because it's a brand new program. We haven't had any training, but that means we need the professional development. It also dug in and asked when they would like the professional development, and they very overwhelmingly said during their normal professional development time, not before school, not after school, which is totally understandable. And so the days of professional development would be, we're hoping to be able to have the 4 trainers come during the professional development day in August, and then the other day would be embedded during PLC time. So it would be already dedicated time during the day for teachers. Parent reports. Something that parents have really asked for is a report that truly tells me something about my child. What is it that my child truly knows? We've done a lot of discussion around success criteria and the I CAN statements and asking parents to really be key on what those are and what their children should be learning. This particular report is about growth. And it's no FERPA problems here. This is a demo account, so it's not a real student, but it's a 4th grader. And this is a end of the year report. So you'll see it explains what typical growth is and what stretch growth is. Typical growth means a child at this level, what would they typically grow? And so that's showing what that is. A stretch growth is a child that's not quite on grade level yet, like they might be a half a year behind or maybe a little bit more than that, what it would take to get them to meeting grade level standards to be proficient. And so you'll see each of those lines. You'll also see over on the side, this is a 4th grader, and you'll see where some things are not assessed, some reading pieces and parts that are not assessed, because this 4th grader does not need phonological awareness or phonics. They're already beyond that. So their score is already beyond that. Therefore, that child doesn't need to have those assessed. There could be a 4th grader that there is a score there because they need to have that assessed, but this particular child did not. And then it goes through and it shows, you'll see vocabulary is at grade 5, the comprehension literature is a late 4th grade, and the comprehension for informational text is a early 4th grade. So you'll see those. The next report does give you a national norm, so you do get that norm. Like I told you that MAP gives you a norm reference, so you do get a percentile on this, but it's not the focus of the report. This is the report that I really like. So these are the 4th grade standards, and if you look at the top where it says reading, then it says grade 4 to grade 4, and then the diagnostic is the 3rd diagnostic, so that's the end of the year, and then diagnostic 1, which is the beginning of the year. So we're comparing here beginning of the year and end of the year. So your far right is your beginning of the year, and then your column that you see the green check marks, those are your end of the year diagnostics. So it's showing you they didn't know it at the beginning of the year, end of the year they do know that. The next slide drills down and you'll see. So each of those standards, you can click the little button to the side of it and it will drop down to all of those success criteria or I CAN individual skills that go along with that standard, and it tells you whether or not the student has mastered those particular things. So it allows a teacher to know very specifically, and parents very specifically, which skills a student knows and does not know. And then these by class, it actually drills down and puts like these 3 students need this particular skill and these 3 students need this particular skill, and here's a lesson plan that goes with this group and here's a lesson plan that goes with this group. So it's very, very specific for Tier 1, what we're calling Tier 1B almost, because it's really digging in and really beefing up that Tier 1 instruction and being able to intervene before we have to get into anything outside of the classroom. This is a link to some guided tours. That's what teachers were given that. That was there for anyone in the public that wants to see what it looks like. Elementary's at the top of the page, middle school's at the bottom of the page because it looks different, as it should. And then they gave us the feedback. After the feedback, I did take the feedback and gave them a FAQ of all of their questions and was able to provide some information for them just so that teachers have the vision of where it's going.
All right, we will open the floor for questions. But Ms. McCaskill, how long have we had MAP? Forever?
A long time. I've been in this district for 16 years, and it's been here pretty much that amount of time.
So I have a two-part question. Why are we looking at are we just now looking at iReady, or have we considered it before and didn't make this change for some reason?
I've never been a part of a conversation with changing formative assessments before. I can tell you personally, I've been in this position, this is my 3rd year. Prior to that, I was director of elementary, and I've been questioning it for 5 years now.
I appreciate the honesty. Mrs. Satterfield, I saw your hand first.
Make sure I get the right button. Before I ask my questions, I don't want any, I know the teachers are still here, Ms. Malath and Ms. Weathersby. I want to say thank you, and Dr. Ross, thank you for bringing all those very bright students in that we don't get enough chance to celebrate those kids. I mean, I went to the science fair, and I told Dr. Ross I was intimidated by some of their projects. They're very bright kids, but thanks to all the parents that came and all the sponsors, and I asked Dr. Ross, how could I get involved as a sponsor? So I look forward to that next year. But thank you, ladies, for what you do. We got so many great teachers in this district. These are 2 of the best, but we have a lot of great teachers, but thank you. I just want to get that cleared up. I had several questions, actually, but I'm going to try to condense them so I don't take up too much time. I know with MAP, they went through all this training. I mean, they went through training and data teams and all these meetings, and they really didn't have time for planning, honestly. They gave up so much of their planning because somebody had a new and better idea. And I can hear your passion in your voice. I know and I like people who are progressive. If something's not working really well, then I do like to move forward. How user-friendly would this be? In other words, what you just showed us was just a small image or a little aspect of it. How user-friendly is this going to be for teachers? Is this going to consume all their time, all the time? I mean, you got a class of 20 kids and you got 5 different levels of students. How user-friendly will this be for teachers? That's one of my questions. But
Yeah,
you can
sure.
answer
So
that.
what we're finding with the math right now is that it is very user-friendly.
Right.
So even the demo account that I've been in as a student, I haven't had any formal training on it myself, but it's very, very easy to go in. I've pretended to be a student, put in some information, but it's very easy to go about finding your way through the program. And the best part about it is that it's literally a click and there's the lesson, and then once the kid takes the diagnostic, the adaptive piece of it assigns the lessons based on the weaknesses for the teacher, and then the teacher can check the dashboard to then see how things are progressing.
Now, didn't we just recently approve a program this year about something similar to that, where teachers could take the MAP scores and they were going to be able to get lessons? I'm trying to remember the name of the program.
Magic AI.
Now, Magic School
Was it Magic
AI
School?
does allow
Yeah,
you
AI.
to put some things in and get lessons, but it's not an assessment based. Like you have to know which standards the child needs to be able to create the lessons for you.
Okay. How about, how do you think this will affect our Tier 2 tutoring? Thank you for bragging on that. and SE readiness. Have you talked to any of the other schools that are using this for SE readiness?
Yes.
You have?
Yes. So 80% of the districts in South Carolina are using iReady. And those districts, I know Dr. Ross has shown the slide where districts like us and where we fall in the state. Those districts that are like us, that are above us, those are the districts that I've been talking with and visiting and asking what's going on. And they're using iReady. That is a tool that they are using.
Okay, and the other two things, and this probably is more geared toward Dr. Ross. One is, I hope that we're getting the message out very early to all the teachers that are going to be affected by this, because we got a lot of changes going on. Next year, people begin moving all over the place. And that in of itself creates anxiety. But the other thing is, probably all my years involved with education, the thing that I remember was a consistent concern, I use that word, concern, was that teachers just didn't have enough time to get ready for the school year, to start the year. I would encourage your staff, Dr. Ross, and for you all to consider setting aside days where teachers could come in where it did not disturb or interfere with them getting ready for the school year, because there's a lot to do to get ready for the school year, and paying them for their efforts, not $100 a day or whatever it is that we throw out there. I don't even know what the going rate is now, Dr. Ross, but
I do. I agree with you, but I will tell you that the state mandates that those 10 days, that we have very specific guidelines how those 10 days have to be used. 4 of those days have to be full of professional development days. So-
right. Well, no, I understand that.
And they have to be at the beginning of the year, and so, I mean, they're very specific how they have to be used.
Yeah, I understand that. But one of the things that when I was a principal was I would go to meetings and I wouldn't put something else on some teacher's plate unless something else came off. And I just know that they're really pressed at the beginning of the school year. They're running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And if you're an elementary school teacher, all those bulletin boards and all the stuff that they do and all the copies and stuff. But that's just a couple of suggestions. I do like the idea of the helping with the Tier 2, and if it's very user-friendly so that teachers it's not something that they see as a challenge or something else they got to learn. So the sooner that we expose them to that, I think the easier it'll be for teachers. Thank you.
Ms. Huddle?
I have 2 questions. One is, what research do you have that you could share with the board that compares results on SC Ready, since 80% of schools use it, with MAP, and that's not paid for by the iReady people? Because I looked, and I looked nationally, and I could only find one, so I won't ask you to share it now, but if you could send the board copies of anything. And the other question I have is, this is a massive change. We're 16 years or more of using something, and as Mr. Satterfield got into, have we considered, I noticed that some South Carolina districts run MAP and iReady, and I'm not suggesting we do that district-wide, but have we suggested picking a school and doing a pilot before we go jump all feet in on this?
We actually are doing that this year. We have all of our K through 5 is taking MAP and iReady.
So they are taking the
They're taking
iReady. Okay, do we have results from that?
We will in the spring.
Okay. Well, and I'm just going to go ahead and share some concerns I have. Let me be perfectly clear. I don't have an allegiance to any of these. I want our kids to do the best that they can, and I trust our teachers immensely. My teachers went to Chapin, and they didn't have ALA then, but they had these teachers, and these were amazing teachers. So just some of the things I've read, and you had an example there of like a child has trouble with metaphors, similes, allusions, personification, and hyperbole. One of the things I've read is that the test will do that, and it'll say that, and then it'll retest it'll scale up on those things. And that may be great if the child has problems with all of those things. But what if they only have problems with similes? The child gets bored and it's frustrating for them. This is just what I've read. I'm just telling you what I've read. Also that the students can't pick their own texts, which, in today's world, a teacher can say, hey, I think this would be a good story for you to read, or pick out some choices, and the child gets a choice. I've also read, I did look, the South Carolina Oversight for Education, they compared the linking, they did 3 linking studies. They did to SC Ready to MAP, SC Ready to iReady, SC Ready to STAR. And my reading of that is that all 3 correlated very well to MAP, and that there wasn't to SC Ready, and then there wasn't necessarily an advantage for any of them. And I'm going to end with, you said the path would take 15 minutes a subject 3 times a week, my path. But what about the overall program? Because when I looked it up, according to what I read, it was 45 minutes a week per subject.
No, we are not. This is not our core curriculum. So we still have Sabbath for ELA. So whenever you're talking about choosing your passages, this is not your ELA instruction. So this is the small group side of your instruction. This is not your total instruction of your day. So we still have, with math in elementary, what's unique is that iReady is the textbook that our teachers chose. So therefore, the textbook is iReady as well as this piece is iReady. So that's a little different. But in the middle school, and then even in the ELA for elementary, we have a different state-adopted curriculum that we use. So that's different. And I think what you're seeing with that 45 minutes is for that total program. So it's not 45 minutes from my path at all.
But I mean, will this mean that the average elementary school student is on their Chromebook doing this stuff 45 minutes per subject per week?
Possibly, yes, per
Okay.
week,
Okay.
not per day.
I understand,
per
but
week.
I just want to add that in here. I mean, it feels like we're adding more computer time at a time when we're hearing a lot of concerns. And, I just have to express that because that's one of the reasons I'm here.
And so just remember that we've had Dreambox all along, and that was actually a little bit less requirement than Dreambox was. So we're really just replacing. We will no longer have Dreambox, so that will replace that. So we're replacing time on the computers right now. The other thing I think I heard you say, you were talking about the correlations between all of them. They are all very directly correlated to SC Ready. So in terms of the correlation, in terms of like projected proficiencies, they are directly related. That's what I have here with iReady as well. The difference is the instruction piece of it. So MAP does not have anything that would align directly to standards. They've got what they call a learning continuum. And the learning continuum is a list of skills that the kid knows, what they don't know yet. But it is not standards-based, and it doesn't tell you what grade level they would be on. It does not differentiate that at all. And so that is the difference between the two companies. And that is what we're trying desperately to try to get. If we focus on standards, we find the teacher clarity, we are finding great improvement. And that's what we're trying to align and trying to really just hone in and help teachers to be able to do that the most efficient and effective way. Like I said, in the 90s, I didn't have iReady, and I had, making stuff, putting things in folders here and there and trying to pull small groups. Teachers don't have time for that. They don't have time for that. Whenever there's tools and availability for more efficiency, that's what we're trying to find for them.
Before I take the next okay, you mean to go to Kevin first? Okay, Mrs. Scully.
Ms. McCaskill, I just want to, I know it's a change and it's it's been described as a massive change. Would you categorize this as a massive change?
No, I really wouldn't. In fact, we're actually giving our elementary teachers some time back, because like I said, they're doing 2 tests. They're doing NWA and they're doing iReady. And we have to do a beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year formative assessment. So I don't see this as a major change other than giving tools to make that assessment actionable.
Right. Thank you. And I know, what have you heard back feedback-wise from teachers as to this particular change?
I have teachers stopping saying that they're excited about it. I've used it in another district, and so now I'm so happy to have it. I was successful there. I've not heard anyone come to me and say, why in the world are you doing this? I have not, and I'm open to listening. In fact, in the 580-something things that I read Tuesday night after they did the survey, there were 2 teachers that said, I'm not sure why we're being asked about this right now. It sounds like the decision's been made, but that was 2 out of 580-something. I appreciated that because that actually is what pushed me towards the FAQ, because I felt like, you know what, I owe you the answers to what the questions that you had, and I created that.
Yeah, I'll give you one teacher feedback, and this is a quote. It's literally just swapping out one test for another. It'll give us good information and help us more than maps will. And so I'll give you 3 guesses as to who said that. But she's very excited about the change, and her peers are as well. One more point that I'll make is you did say and confirm that it's really Dreambox, that was digital and online as well. So I know we have heard some feedback from the community as to concerns about the usage of Chromebooks, but I just want to reiterate that that's not the majority opinion. And it's just one segment of the community that we've heard from. We just happen to have heard from. There's a large segment of the community, such as me, myself, who would advocate for actually expanding use of digital platforms. So just want to keep that in mind for the sake of the community's benefit. We are talking about the Chromebooks. I will advocate for expanding our access and use of the Chromebooks. But there's a wide variety of opinions out there for that issue. But thank you.
Thanks, Ms. McCaskill, for the presentation. I'll just share with everyone that I did a little digging myself too and heard from some teachers and principals in and out of our district. One of them says, the thing I don't like about MAP is that sometimes we don't get a good picture of what grade level standards students don't know because it won't test them if they haven't had a previous grade level mastered. I feel like we don't get a good picture of what our students know when they have gaps from previous grade levels. Another one said that they are really interested in how these tie very directly to the SC standards. And another advised that this program is really worth it as long as you invest in the instructional models that go with it. So it does seem like there is some excitement with this. I'll also say that, we came to you and asked what we could do Tier 2. And so far, it looks like you've hit a home run, so I'm inclined to trust your judgment on this.
Thank you.
Mrs. Satterfield, you had another question?
Yeah, just one more question. I'm not sure which, either Scott or Kevin brought this up. The parent, how will they be able to get on PowerSchool and access this information? How would they access their child, the diagnostic tool, and how they can monitor and check their child's progress? Because that's going to be an important part of it, too.
There's a parent dashboard that you can log into, and you can see it at any time that you want to. So your child will have a passcode, and you'll be able to go into the parent dashboard and see it at any time that you want to see it.
Okay, and one more question, because I lied.
That's fine.
You mentioned earlier, and I think that it's important that our community understands how this will be paid for. So this is not going to add to our budget or anything along these lines.
I was going to ask that same question, so.
Yes, could you please just reiterate that, or I don't know if Dr. Ross wants to, or?
So
Thank you.
So Title II funds will pay for the professional development piece of it. Student services and planning pays for the MAP that comes out of accountability's budget. They'll pay for the diagnostic piece of this. There is a part of that that's reimbursable by the state. Just want to say that. We'd never know exactly how much that is. I think 2 years ago, Ms. Black, it was about $93,000 that was reimbursed from the state out of about 160 so thousand at that time. So it was about half of it that was reimbursed by the state. And the rest of it will come out of the academic budget that currently pays for software, that will be taking some software away to, and it's things like FastBridge, which is the kindergarten first grade required universal screener. We will no longer have to pay that for everyone. We'll pay that possibly for some Tier 2 students, but that'll be very minimal. But that money will go towards it. Dreambox is going away. We're looking at some other pieces and parts of software that are just not necessarily specific to student achievement. They're nice tools to have, but they're not have-to-have kinds of things that we're going to have to make some decisions about.
I know you said you surveyed teachers. Did this go out to all teachers, or how do y'all determine who would participate in the survey?
So kindergarten through 8th grade teachers, ELA and math. Some of our middle schools chose to do it for all of their teachers and not just ELA and math, which was up to them. But I asked that all ELA and math teachers for sure participate. It was 583 total teachers that submitted their survey Tuesday afternoon.
Mr. Bam?
I appreciate you working on, kind of getting rid of ineffective software and combining to help with the financing. That's great. And you've answered a lot of my questions already. As far as with our special education program, the adaptive testing, will that be kind of a seamless transition there?
It is. In fact, our special ed students are already familiar with iReady. We've already used it some with special ed students. And it has accommodations. It has all of that built into it. So it's very, very special ed friendly.
And one question, so when parents are in like IEP meetings, will they be able to use some of this data as far as what placement and?
Yes, we're really excited about how it can really help drive the goals to be more standards-based goals.
I'd rather ask more questions.
If the state mandates this, why does the state just not pay for it? I mean, they say we have to do this. Why does the state not pay for it?
That's a great question. It really is.
I mean, I know many teachers that think that there's too much testing already and would rather recapture that time for instruction. So talk to your state representatives.
Dr. Herring, just so you know, if you don't do it, they take away money.
I'll go ahead and ask you. But the state does pay for a portion of MAP, right?
That's what I said. They 2 years ago, we haven't gotten this year's reimbursement back yet. So last year, I think we got 93,000. Is that about right? About 93,000 that we got back.
So they pay for a portion of MAP, but they don't pay for any of iReady?
They will.
Okay.
But we just don't know how
much.
much.
Okay.
It's every year it changes. It's not an exact amount that you're going to get back. But yes, we will get something back. When? I don't know. That's why we can't really bank on that. But yes, we're supposed to get some back.
Okay, and then this is my last question. But is when you did the survey results of the things that teachers were concerned about, and I am asking a lot of questions, but it's so everybody can hear what's going on. And so one of the things you mentioned was that the point of concern just was lack of training, which is what you're wanting to do, which makes sense. Is there a specified amount of time that they recommend that is needed for the training? And do we fit that window before we would have to start testing with this material?
Right. So I think I'm understanding your question, but what they would do in August, so in early August, we would have trainers that would come and we would do our training, and that would train all of our teachers on how to administer the test to begin with, and some initial reading of what is their data going to look like and what should they do with it. And then shortly after that, September-ish, after we kind of get started with school, each school would have a day where a trainer could come in, and during their PLC time, they could meet with individual departments or individual grade levels and really dig in and say, okay, you've got your data now, this is what goes next.
Do we have any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. McCaskill. Just to, as a note, this is just up for discussion tonight so that the board had an opportunity to get all their questions out and for us to inform the community. So if you have other questions, they can come back to us before we take a vote on this at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCaskill. As Dr. Harris comes to the lectern, I just want to thank Ms. McCaskill and her team for this work. Be informed, we're not bringing this just out of nowhere. The state law says we must do this by South Carolina Code of Laws 59-18-310. In there, we have to do PD. We have to assess 3 times a year. We must do this assessment. And we're only given 5 options. Of the 5, only 4 do K through 8. The law says that we must measure student growth 3 times a year. But this tool not only lets us measure, but it measures against the standards, and it gives teachers a tool to interact. Most importantly, where I stand behind this recommendation, it gives parents something that they can use. You get a MAP score, if your child increases, everybody celebrates. We don't talk about the kids in the red, though. And I show that every meeting. Those kids in the red. We've been doing it for 16, 17 years. As if those kids in the red, we got to make a change for them. And to make that change is important. The kids in the red, those parents are asking us every day, what can we do? What information can I have? Here's a program that's going to give them specifics down to the standard on what those children in the red can do to improve. And I'm excited about it. And so we must do this by law. Here's an opportunity to make a change, and so I fully stand behind and support it. With that, Dr. Harris.
Sir, thank you, Dr. Ross. Members of the board, Dr. Ross, community, I wanted to just stand before you for just a moment and share a bit of an announcement. We've talked on several different occasions in reference to an event, a community-wide event entitled Shatter the Myth, and we had great success in our fall session. Typically, we would do 2 a year, 1 in the fall, 1 in the spring, and several persons turned out and had great success, a number of vendors, as we have shared in previous meetings. We're scheduled for Thursday, March 26th here at the Center of Advanced Technical Studies for our second of 2 Shatter the Myth events. However, due to, I think, just a number of different activities, events, programs, athletic events that are going on during the spring, we've opted to cancel our Shatter the Myth for this coming Thursday, March 26th. Just a number of competing different events that have caused us, resulted rather in low registration. So we're going to focus our efforts on our fall session, which already has its own date of Tuesday, October 27th. Tuesday, October 27th, 2026. We're going to focus our time and attention, our energy, and our effort on the fall session, but due to low registration and a number of competing events for this coming spring, this coming Thursday actually, we're going to cancel the Shatter the Myth. I wanted to share that with you, share that with our community so that all will be made aware.
Thank you, Dr. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boehner, Mrs. Scully.
Since we've started this program and then a lot of the signage in the schools, have we tracked how suspensions and expulsions related to vaping and other type of substances that have tracked up or down? Do we have any kind of data on that?
There is a mechanism in which to do that. It's entitled Simple Discipline that does track that. I don't have that with me tonight, but there is a mechanism that administrators are frequently looking at, and our Student Services Department is often meeting with them as well to review that information, as well as other information that Simple Discipline tracks. So absolutely.
Mr. Scully?
Yeah, Dr. Harris, I'm so sad to hear that.
I couldn't look at you, I'm sorry.
My question, I guess, is, okay, so this is a district-sponsored event. Is there any consideration or way, and if I get out of my lane, please let me know, but for this to be considered for makeup time, or like, because it's a district event, if a student needs to make up time, can this apply a couple of hours if they attend this event? Would that apply to help them make up time? Or if not, and if so, and could we, I'm just trying to think of ways to increase the enrollment in this. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of this program, but it's also the type of program that you don't really understand the impact unless you go to it, and it's word of mouth driven. Could teachers possibly give extra credit or anything like that if the students come to this event?
I appreciate you sharing that. I think because seat time and instructional prime time is so focused on the teacher of record, I don't know if it can be used for extra credit or seat time. However, I think with the fall, the participation was so huge because there were just so many things not competing with it. And to your point, I think we can use those pictures and those testimonies to drive that. There could be sometimes in lieu of a suspension or something like that. But I think what we have to work on for October 27th is really sharing the testimonies that you have and others have of how powerful this is going to be for their families. I just think when spring, we have so many things competing against each other. But we'll look for creative ways. But I think the biggest piece is once a family goes through it, I mean, it's transformative, and it's just really communicating how this is. So we felt like with Dr. Harris, when we called and talked about it, we knew how tough a decision was, but so many vendors come out for this. Mm-hmm. We pull so many resources from the community to put this together. And even after a publication, we didn't have 20 folks who was going to be there. So I think if we can focus on that fall piece, get more testimonials out about it, I think that would be huge. But I do want to share, and I don't want to overstep, Dr. Harris, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But when we look at discipline year to year, it's down. I don't know if the degree is down, but discipline is down, so we're driving it. We heard what you said about, vaping. We heard what you said about alcoholism and substance use disorder and bullying, and I think we have a lot of handshakes and support to the administration, the boots on the ground that we put there, expectation coaches, the Shadow of the Mist series for driving that down. So, we talked about. But so many resources are pulled together for these nights. We want them to be well attended. But.
Absolutely, Grant. I thank you for sharing that. And that really is the heart and soul of it. Again, coupled with the low registration, and again, I thank you for sharing about what's happening in our schools. Hats off to our administrators, our Student Services Department for partnering and making this happen and to reduce the number of incidents that are occurring in terms of suspensions and expulsions. Absolutely.
Ms. Huddle had a question.
Well, I just want to compliment you on the program. I went to one of them, and it was fantastic.
Oh, excellent.
And I think the most eye-opening thing was I went, even though my kids are grown, I went to the parent part, and I don't know, I just learned so much about how things have changed since I was a kid and what kids do to get away with stuff. And anyway, I was just going to compliment you, but also maybe suggest that in addition to testimonials, if there's a way to get a snippet from one of the vendors for some of the things that they teach the parents, I think that might drive some interest too. Because until you've done it, like you guys have said, you don't really get how powerful it is. But maybe that would be a little window into how it's so powerful.
Great idea. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Dr.
thank you.
Harris.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
Do we have any additional questions for Dr. Ross? Thank you.